This is the foreword I wrote to We Rise, stories of women who overcome, as told by women who overcame. And my name is Mojúbàolú Olúfúnké Okome. I'm a professor of political science, African and Women's Studies, and Leonard and Claire Tao Professor 2015-2016 at Brooklyn College, City University of New York. The book, We Rise, Stories of Women Who Overcome, as told by women who overcame, is very interesting. I ordinarily don't read short stories, but my dear sister, Ejiro Otive Igbuzor, asked me to write the foreword to this collection, and I could not refuse. I am glad that I accepted. These stories are gems that explore numerous manifestations of gender relations in Nigerian society. They offer skillfully written, interesting, thought-provoking, and imaginative accounts of the relationships between men and women. They expose the challenges, fault lines, and pitfalls, as well as the bittersweet and tumultuous relations of dating, marriage, and breakups. Marriage and motherhood loom large in this collection. Even when they're absent, they lurk in the background in angst-filled longing for something that refuses to happen, as with Zainab Attar's Happily Single, a story where Grace is happily single, but is still asking God for a husband. God's answer, that her friend got married and was celebrating her 23rd wedding anniversary while Grace is still waiting, because Grace has the strength to cope with being without a husband, both praises Grace and yet affirm the primacy of marriage. Motherhood is also a big priority, even when imposed through rape, as with Asabe, who was raped at 14 by her father's friend and was abandoned by her parents to a cruel husband that further punished her by denying her an education, something of which she dreamed so passionately. Josie Adokuru Mudashiru told the story well in Dare to Dream. Women are also forced into motherhood, as we see with Ekana, who was forced to become Nsoa's mother after David left without looking back in Quincy Patrick's Nsoa, a Child, by one night. Some mothers have too many back-to-back pregnancies, and sometimes in a deadly quest to have a boy to soothe the ego of their husbands who desire a male heir, they lose their lives. There's also domestic violence and death. We see this in Christine Vidal Wachukwu's The Heir's Arrival. Many of the stories show that marriage is dangerous, and Francisca Ogre in Gone with the Bells shows how the gilded cage, that is money and material advantages, can be used to keep women under conditions of domestic violence. Some women refuse to be forever victims, like Coco in Iyaiya Thomas's Raging Storm. She decided to leave Edem after years of emotional abuse. I found myself cheering for Coco, given my distress at hearing about so many instances where women die from the abusive battering from their once loving husbands. Camilla, by Faith, shows how damaging a domineering father, Mr. Akpamo, can be to a young girl and woman who's forced to comply with her father's wishes on the choice of field of study, law rather than fine and applied arts, and husband, not Matthew, but Ben. Camilla's mother, Mrs. Ebimo, is docile and invested in domesticating her daughter. Like the mothers we encounter in the book, there's much effort invested in appeasing the fathers and persuading the daughters that this is the right thing to do. Never mind that Mr. Akpamo's objection to Camilla's relationship with Matthew is due to what someone from Matthew's ethnic group had done to him 20 years ago. This pithy and deft handling of the toxicity of ethnic conflict in Nigeria shows how damaging its corrosive effects can be. Relationships can be tricky. Some men are nice in the beginning, but there are telltale signs such as Ben's bad-tempered nature. But Camilla's father approves, and she walked into a domestic violence-infused marriage. She wisely took the divorce option. Okoro Teresa Chigozirim's Beyond the Beauty Called Love is sad. Mary died after a long illness in a marriage troubled by venomous hatred from her mother-in-law and grandmother-in-law. She left 5 children. It's heartbreaking that this is a true story. What should be the role of bystanders and family? What could Mary's family have done to support her before she died? Struggling over custody of the dead body might be gratifying for the living, but not for the dead. Okoro gives a long list of lessons, 21. They should be taken seriously. When pregnancy results from a relationship, women bear the brunt when the men absent themselves to pursue dreams. But the aphorism that it takes a village to raise a child rings true in Ejiro Otive Igbuzor's unsung heroines, Grandma the Great. This 2-part story is autobiographical. It explores themes including intergenerational motherhood by Grandma, single motherhood, that is Mary, diaspora, Vincent, love, and return migration. This is about the relationship between Mary and Vincent. It is also a cliffhanger. Men are forgiven and women are punished for out-of-wedlock pregnancies. A man can leave and return to express love at a later time with the expectation that love conquers all. How about the woman left holding the bag? She's expected to be chaste and beyond reproach. How about the child? The child would definitely have suffered if Grandma had not been there to fill the gap. Grandma became mother, and mother was sister. The lesson Grandma taught is that a child is too precious to abandon to the vagaries of fate. Also, that a woman deserves an education and must be self-sufficient. She also showed that it is important to ignore naysayers and keep one's eyes on the prize. Onidiri the Hair Plaiter by L.C. Dennis Ogenekaro tells the story of a hard-working mother invested in her children's success. She works incessantly to this end. This is the story of many mothers who sacrifice everything to ensure that their children have their basic needs met and also that they're educated. Kudos to these unsung heroes. The Sacrifice by Kuku is a sad story of Ewu, a mother who dies while giving birth to her second child. This is a reminder of the high levels of maternal mortality in Nigeria. It is also about the multiple ways in which women mother. Moku, her first child, decided to mother the baby. She sacrificed her own dreams and aspirations to do so. She later had 8 children of her own. Luckily, her brother, Efem Egede Awup, appreciated and publicly acknowledged her sacrifice. The role and importance of traditional midwives is also a part of the story, which hints at the need to integrate traditional and modern maternity care as a panacea for maternal mortality. While Happily Single by Zainab Atta focuses on the possibility of being joyful and comfortable with a single life, it also uncovers the difficulties of having serious and rewarding relationships. And it even leads one to believe that it is best to be married, as Grace, a highly accomplished woman, longs to be married. Her friends and family also pressure her in subtle and not so subtle ways. It is definitely hard to be a woman, is my takeaway from this story. You are damned if you do and damned if you don't when it comes to the marriage question. Dare to Dream by Josie Adokuru Mudashiru also shows the significant work being done by non-governmental organizations, NGOs that rescue vulnerable children from the devastating situations that they are embroiled in. We also see the important role played by people who care enough to be their sisters' keepers. Aluaye is an example. She was a youth corper who stayed in the rural village where she was posted, and she took the time to get to know Asabe. She used her networks and her resources and the resources they provided to rescue Asabe. It helped that her auntie Uwa was a high-powered human rights lawyer, and her NGO's mission is to provide education for vulnerable children. She also knew the relevant law, the 2003 Child Rights Act. Asabe was not only rescued, her education continued. Her parents and the pedophile husband were prosecuted and punished. How I wish this were the fate of all exploited and abused children. Hopefully, readers would be motivated to be like Aluaye and Auntie Uwa. Nsowa, A Child by One Night by Quincy Patrick, also shows the importance of the work being done by NGOs. The Rebecca Nkanu Foundation supported this teen mother to get an education. We need more of these socially conscious organizations, but we also need social consciousness about the human rights of girls and women throughout Nigerian society. We need laws enforced. This is a great book in many respects. Kudos to the authors for writing a captivating and informative book that explores the gender issues that bedevil us. It's a plus that we are also offered possible solutions. Thank you.